One night, Dakota says to me, "Daddy, build me a tree house." I says, "Oh yeah, okay, one day." She says, "Okay, I'll go to sleep and tomorrow it'll be done, okay?" I said, no, that's not how it works. But now we have a tree house, don't we?
Yeah.
Didn't know what I was doing, so I had to get on YouTube and learn how to do it, huh?
Yeah.
And this is how we did it. This video is going to be great for people who have a little bit of knowledge of construction, some basic principles, but you don't have many tools. You've only got basic things like you need something to cut with, something to drill with, something to hammer, something to like a wrench. I didn't have any big machinery. Everything was done pretty much by hand, by myself mostly. And what we couldn't get, we rented. And I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that I learned along the way. Hopefully it'll make the job easier for you. It all starts with the designing, and I spent a good couple of months up here before any tools or any ground got touched, a shovel got touched. It was all up here first, and I'll show you how to do that process. Here we are in the free version of SketchUp, and SketchUp is pretty easy to learn. There's lots of YouTube tutorials on how to do it, so I won't go over that. I actually design it in here first and it shows you where any issues are. And if you look at different codes and different building tutorials, you'll know that, for example, the joists will be 16 inches apart and stuff like that. But I'm not going to talk about that stuff here today. I'm talking about how to design it so you can have minimal waste. And because I don't have a lot of money, right? I can't afford to waste anything. So, for example, what I did here was I designed it 8 foot. The reason why I did that was because you have to think where you're going to get your lumber from. So I got my lumber, actually, I got it in two different places, which was one of my mistakes. I went to Menards and went to Lowe's, and they actually have different lengths. I thought they had standards. I thought a supplier supplies them all, but it's not true. So here at Lowe's, you have 8 foot, 12, 10, 16-inch length. So if you built it 9 foot, you'll be buying 10-foot lumber to cut off a foot. 8 foot is a lot cheaper than, say, 10 foot. So I did a 8 foot by 8 foot, and that way I really minimize any leftovers. And leftovers can be used, like if you chop off a piece, you can go in between here and block them like you'll see I do, but that's about 13 inches in between there. So let's pretend you did a 9 foot by 9 foot and you had a 10-foot lumber, you've only got 12 inches left over, which isn't used for much except for little pieces in here you can use to block off. So another thing I did was, with the 8 foot in mind, the deck boards are 12 foot long. And so I can cut off 4 foot, put an 8 foot deck board along there, and put the other 4 foot on the stairs. So when I did the stairs, you'll see here it's say 46 inches, 45.94, 46 inches long. 4 foot is 48 inches, which then gives me, so if this is from here to here is 46 and 4 foot is 48, that gives me 2 inches left over, which means I can have an inch overhang for the stair stringers. So over here, see, I did an overhang over here. So decide how much overhang you're going to have to minimize your waste. So everything's planned for, even down to what it looks like underneath. I plan for, so it helped me plan for the footers. And so the piers are for the footers down here, right? So you dig holes down. So I was planning for 3 foot to go down here, because that's depending on your code in your area. So in our area, we need to go down 3 foot to go below the frost line. And so from here to here, actually from the ground to the top here is 20 foot. But from here to here was 20 foot. So you plan with your materials first. So go to your material list, see what's available, then create your design in here according to the materials that you're going to get. Otherwise, you're going to waste money and you're going to waste materials. And over here, I redesigned it again. Actually, I didn't redesign it. I actually remade it so I could figure out the distances exactly to create the holes, put the posts in. So I was planning for the swing here, I was planning for this monkey bar area over here. So if you design everything first, it makes your construction a lot easier. While I was doing that, I had to decide where I was going to put it. And we decided to put it into this little scrubby area that wasn't used for anything. It was only used to store cut wood, and that's where I blew the leaves into each year. And so it wasn't used for anything. And I thought a tree house amongst the trees seems to be the best option. It took quite a long time to clean out and rake out, but mostly because the weather was terrible and I wasn't ready anyway because I was still designing in the process. But once it had been all cleaned out, it looked a lot better. But one of the problems was after pulling out the weeds and roots, it left some parts of the ground too low. This might cause problems when it rains because those low areas could fill up with water, potentially creating a pond. Now, this could damage the wood and even become a place for mosquitoes to breed under the playhouse. To prevent this, we got some nearby dirt to raise the ground and raked it flat. Additionally, we removed lots of stones and small rocks to make sure the kids playing in the playground don't get hurt. Down at the treehouse, stringing all the lines out for the foundation. So we're going to dig holes for piers. Now, the plans have changed. As I do it on 3D, I can see where the issues are, how deep the stairs are, how high they go, which wood goes in which pier. And for me, it's complicated because I'm not that skilled, right? I'm learning things as I go and it's kind of challenging. It's challenging. Okay, we've got back from Lowe's. We're renting a stump grinder and a auger to dig the holes with. We've only got half of the cement because it's too heavy to put in this trailer with only one axle. So we're loading it on there now. So I've got to square up the posts, these 4 posts, because these are the 4 main ones, and there's 2. I had to do these nice and square so I can get 2 more that run square off that. So they had to be perfect almost, so I can make sure everything else is perfect, because right here are some posts for the stairs. So now that we spent the afternoon getting this done, tomorrow I can run the measurements from there and then get the holes done. I have to reconfigure where I originally strung the layout because we're under the trees, right? We've got a lot of roots around. One particular route has redesigned where the post goes. See that route there? And so it's pushed my string line out of my original layout. So now I have to move these posts to line up with the 2 posts here. And we had to dig that hole a little bit more this way to be able to turn it to square it off with these 2 posts. So really what determined the square and the layout of this thing was that particular route, because we didn't want to cut that because that belongs to the tree. So we don't want to kill the tree. And a lot of people, they attach their tree houses to the tree with hardware, and we didn't want to do that. So we're having a tree house that isn't attached to the tree, but it'll look like it's attached to the tree. We're going to go around it. So that's the plan now, is that we've got the auger for today. I have to take it back tomorrow. And I have to figure out 10 more holes today. And hopefully I don't run into roots problems again, but we're cutting it close here. Sometimes roots determine where your posts go. No matter how well you do your measuring and your configuring, nature has a different way of determining where your post will be. So it's a matter of making adjustments when that happens. It's difficult to see in the time lapse, but every time I put a post in, I put in some rocks and concrete and wet it all. And then I put angle braces on it to stop the post from leaning. Make sure it's plumb, which is vertically straight up and down. Now right here, I'm putting in the bottom ledges and bolting them on with ledger bolts. And the idea there is that they don't move as they're drying. Then the top ledges go in. So I've done the bottoms, now I'm doing the tops, and this is to make sure that everything is square, since the whole tree house, this is the center of the whole tree house. Oh, that's me standing around. There's a lot of me standing around. Mostly I'm standing around trying to figure out what I should do next, and I'm visualizing a lot. This is joist tape. And so everything that's horizontal that a deck board goes on gets joist tape, and that stops the moisture from rotting out the wood. Got to make a couple of modifications with these bolts. They stick out too far. The problem with that is the stair stringers run right in line with those bolts. So I have to bury them. So I've got to countersink. I've got to drill and sink those so the stair stringers can go straight over top of them. The reason why I'm doing this up here first is from the top, then I drop 7 inches down and start my stair stringers down, which determines where this lands here. It may be the wrong way to do it, but I don't know what I'm doing. If I started from the bottom here and went up top and got my measurements wrong, I might end up not meeting the top. So I'll start where I know I want the top to start and make my way down, because even if this is a couple of inches wrong down here, I can make up by putting more dirt or a cement pad or something. But I can't change the top if I start from the bottom then go to the top, which is not really the top, it's just the top deck, right? These vertical posts here were 12 foot, and so 3 foot goes in the ground, leaving 9 foot exposed above the ground. Now I wanted to go up another 6, 7, 8 foot above that. A real builder would have bought a 20-foot beam, but we didn't have the trailer for it, so we had to get what we could fit on a trailer. And so 12 foot was the max, and so I had to extend the tops on up there, and that was quite challenging, especially to do by myself. So I had to lift them up very carefully. Then I sandwiched those joints with the bolts up there to help secure it. But that was quite tough, and I'll show you one in real motion how tough it was. And here I am putting the stair stringer brackets in place for the stairs. These stair stringers, stair stringer hangers, whatever they're called, those things, they're harder than I thought they'd be. I thought they'd be easier than they are. Sometimes I start thinking, all this little fiddly stuff, the foundation stuff will take a while, but it'll get faster at some point. It's not happening yet. Maybe it just takes longer when you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to figure things out as you go. I mean, I've done the design in SketchUp and I saw where the strengths and weaknesses are, but it doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. I have to keep watching YouTube videos on different aspects. It'll be rewarding when it's done, right? Yep. The width of the stairs here, they're smaller than I designed because the root system underneath determined where my holes could go. And you could go all medieval and chop the roots out, but then you might kill a tree. So Oh well, it is what it is. I would have got 20-foot posts, saved me from doing this, but we've only got a 12-foot trailer, so we couldn't get a 20-foot post here. So now I've got to butt end to end to make them longer. I haven't found a YouTube video that helps me do that, so I invented my own way to do it. And it's harder to do it by yourself. Got an 8-foot post, I have to lift it up, put it on, take it down, then drill the hole, then put it back up and bolt it into place. I've done it 3 times now, no incidences, which is great. So I got all my tools up here and I'm good to go as long as I don't drop any tools. And you try and make them vertical. But I can see there's a bend in the pole, there's a warp in the pole, so how vertical can you get with a warp? I don't know. This one feels particularly heavier than the others. It must be still a lot of moisture in it, still green. Drop my tools. I need that clamp. I have to go back down. I know this isn't very entertaining, it's pretty painful to watch, but this is actually twice, I've sped the footage up twice as fast because it took quite a while, so I just wanted to show how difficult this was. Now, I fully expect and maybe I even hope that there might be some construction workers that might comment, give me some comments on how you would do this properly. See how I've got it down the bottom here, it's quite top heavy. So how do you do this by yourself? So once I had it up, I had to clamp it into place, then drill 2 holes for the coach screws, coach bolts to go through. My bit wasn't long enough, it was only 5 inches long, and I had to go through, 7.5 inches here. And so I could only go halfway through, which marked the other side, and take the post down. It was heavy. I nearly lost it, see? Nearly fell off the ladder. And so you have to think about the things that can go wrong, which helps you plan for it. But out of the 4 posts, that was the only one that I nearly fell off from, and continued drilling the hole through. Then before I put the post up, I put the bolts through on the other side halfway through, so the bolts are ready to push through. Then bring the post back up again and line it up and push the bolts back in. Today's Saturday morning, about 8:30. You didn't see me do this yesterday because every afternoon the phone dies, so you miss the last 2 or 3 hours of work. So I cut these off. I miscalculated the stair stringers because you want to find out where you're going to get your stair stringers from, because I discovered that stair stringers have different runs and rises from different stores, and I assumed that they're all the same. So we got these stair stringers from Lowe's, which are 6 3/4 risers instead of 7-inch risers. So you times that by X number of stairs and it makes a difference at the end. So my height here was a bit higher than I calculated, so my posts weren't high enough for the railing. I had to cut them off, and so that also made a difference to where the stairs end at the bottom here, so I've got to make another box at the bottom for the stairs to land on. Oh well. A real builder would have cut out the stringers themselves. One really important part of the process, and it's super expensive, is to put this joist tape on top here, because when it rains and water goes in between the surface, anything that's horizontal, that's where it will rot, even though it's treated timber. And one time I was replacing a deck in Australia, and this was long before joist tape or anything. I don't know how it was holding up. It was rotted all around the bolts, and I happened to be on a ladder, and I didn't have to undo the bolt. I just had to flake the timber away from the bolt. It was just rotten. And so back in the day, that was 2005 or 6, we used bicycle tube rubber. So these are really expensive per roll. Depends where you get it from. About 20 bucks per roll, right? And it's only 50 feet. We've got about $200 worth of tape so far. We'll need a lot more. Important to do. And also you can put it around the bottom of your posts, because the posts in the ground, wherever the water settles, it's wet, that's where it will rot. Who gave you that?
It's of that mail lady.
The mail lady?
Yeah.
Wow. Is that for Daddy?
We just share.
Oh, we can share. Okay, cool. Sunday morning. Only got half a day today because Dakota has a birthday party to go to. I got about 4 hours to make something happen. See, I finished the stair stringers when the camera died. Gonna go up the stairs with the decking board, then up there, and then up there, then up there, up the top, and then I'm gonna work my way back down again because we've got a slide. I wanna see where that lands so I can start the deck down the bottom. You know what I hate is when you think you've been filming for an hour and you didn't press a record button. I actually did a wedding like that. If you ever come across a warped deck board, which is most of them, but sometimes they warp sideways, right? And when you put them down, they're not parallel, and so you're going to have these great big gaps. And you normally should have a gap, but because it's green, it's going to shrink anyway, so I just screw them tight because they're going to shrink. But sometimes when there's a curve in it and you're trying to get it tight, what you do is you screw a lever into the joist and then you push the lever forward, so you have the bend facing away from you like this, so you can push into the bend and then screw it down like this. And then you can make it nice and tight. Ta-da! Then just unscrew your lever. Ready for another turn. Good morning, it's about 8:30 or something. I've got to figure some things out. Also design how the joists are going to go. I have already designed it, but I got some ideas. I want to change some things up. Tuesday morning, it's 9:30 and I am 2 hours away from home because we're picking up a monkey bar for Dakota's treehouse. It only cost 60 bucks. Back on the job, here it is. Here's the monkey bars. I'll just figure out the height and how much I can bury it. I'm not going to do that yet because I'm going to do some other things. So I got it into my head that I'm going to do something fancy that I haven't done before. Actually, everything I've never done before, but especially this part. Instead of just having a come out square little platform, I'm going to attempt, if this fails, I probably won't post this part of the video, but I'm going to come out here and curve around to there, like a curved platform. And then if that's successful, a little inner curve here. So that means cutting the joist in a certain way that I can bend the joist. I have to figure it out, lay the joist down, lay it out, measure it, figure it out in my head. This is one that's not going to be on 3D SketchUp first. Got to be all in my head. Maybe lay it out, draw it out on the ground here. We'll see how we go. The deadline is before Dakota's birthday, which is a while away, but there's a lot of other things I've got to do. So I'm going to create this little curvy deck down here today. That's the plan. I'm semi-confident in my head how it's going to work. We'll see. We'll see if it makes the edit.